Hello, Steeler fans. Okay, please first hit the likes and the subscribes down below in the right hand corner. Yeah, I muchly appreciate your help in growing the channel, and thank you for those who have. Okay, this is to review Week 10's game with the Packers in town in our beloved Steelers nation. All right, this was quite a game again. Wow. Right down to the last moments. This seems to be the trademark of the Steelers, doesn't it? Okay, final score 19-23 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They held on, and again, this is becoming a reoccurring theme. And what I like is the theme of the story seems to be, what have we missed when Ben was here for so long? Ben would have loved to have had this. Our running game is winning football games, amazingly, right? We always said running, you keep a good mix, but the running game is winning the games, and of course our defense keeps making those big plays at times too, right? So that all goes hand in hand. So the first quarter it starts off 7-7. Second quarter we get the Steelers coming up with 10 points, Packers 6. In the third quarter you had the Packers get 6, Steelers 3. Fourth quarter 3 for the Steelers, but adds up to your 23-93. So Steelers Kazi makes game-winning interception at the end, and it's funny because once he intercepts that ball, that's the Packers' last-ditch effort. There was no need, unnecessary hit at the end there. That come on, a professional athlete knows better at that. The game is over. The ball's already caught. Okay, the guy's in the sideline. What's the deal with the extra hit there? To me, that just shows the lack of class, right? No class, right? So, normally I looked at the Packers, you might want to talk to some of your players because that was just totally unclassy. Okay, but you got your little handful when you ended up with the chaos in the Steelers end there after you made the hit, didn't you? You got what you deserved. Okay, so recap. That's Jalen Warren and Najee Harris combined for 183 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. That's what I just said. Rushing game. That's where all the bulk of our points were scored, was running the ball, right? And the Pittsburgh Steelers edged the Green Bay Packers 23-19 on Sunday. This puts the Steelers at 6-3. This just blows my mind, right? This is a team, I can't get a pulse on this team. I really can't. I can't figure it. I'm not going to try to predict it or project it because anytime I think they win or lose, although mind you, I did think this could go either way. So this game was kind of, it kind of went the way it should have gone, but pretty much, right? Very close. So we won. The Steelers win 6-3, their ninth straight game decided by 8 points or less, following the formula that has become familiar. A little offense, a timely turnover, and just enough for everything else to survive. Pittsburgh used touchdown runs by their two backs, who have become essentially 1A and 1B. And of course, Chrissy Boswell, I mean, that's money in the bank. This guy's foot's always money in the bank. You're looking for field goals to keep you in a game. Chrissy's coming through. No ands and buts. Okay, now we're going to give you all the stats. Okay, now, this is the reoccurring theme. It always seems like the opposition is getting more total yardage than the Steelers weekly. So here we go again. 399 for the Packers, 324 for the Steelers. Passing yards, and again, we seem to lag in that area. But I don't mind that so much because we're getting some balance. And since we finally have a bit of a running game, I'd rather see us have a mix. So we're being outpassed usually for the most part weekly. But I mean, that's pretty darn good for a guy whose ribs are banged up, for a quarterback hanging in there. So 283 by the Packers, 119 for the Steelers. But here's the difference. 116 to 205 by the Steelers. Rushing yards, running game, right? That's what pretty much won the game in the blocked extra points, right? Defense comes up big once again. Total play is 65 for the Packers, 60 for the Steelers. That's reoccurring. 6.1 average yardage per play. So the Packers do have a they do quite well per play in gaining good yardage. So they're better at us in that department. We're 5.4, but an okay balance. We were worse in the running game for the last few years. So that's an improvement. First down, 17 to 21. This is what I like seeing. That's an improvement for the Steelers. But here's our problem, and I mention this weekly. This third down efficiency, and it really is aggravating because we're fortunate to pull off these squeak games, you want to call them, by anywhere between 3 and 8 points you're beating a team. That's a dangerous way to live on the edge, and it's also because our third down efficiency needs to move up. You can't be, again, we're always behind in this department, and the Packers outdid us again with them with theirs this week, 50 to 31%. We always seem to be in that 30 percentile. And then penalties, 5 to 3. So the Packers were a little more undisciplined. Penalty yards, 32 to 27 for the Packers. Turnovers. This is the thing that makes the difference in games. No turnovers for the Steelers. 2 turnovers for the Packers. That's where our defense comes through, right? 41 tackles to 39. That was pretty darn close, but that was in the Packers' favor. Sacks, 1-1. We kind of unusual for us. We usually do a little better in that department. Sack yards lost, uh, pretty close, off by a yard. So 6 for the Packers, 7 for the Steelers. And time of possession. This is what came up a little bit, and it's good to see. Packer very close though. 29.27 seconds for the Packers. 30 point whatever, because they don't bring it up on the screen here properly on these pages. So it's over 30 minutes for the Steelers. So they were slightly ahead of the Packers in that department. Now, scoring summary. At 10:01 of the first quarter, Najee Harris gets the touchdown, a 4-yard run. Boswell, as usual, gets the extra point. Romeo Dubes gets an 8-yard pass from Jordan Love. And of course, Carlson gets the extra point. You got a tie game. That's at 4:42. Fourth quarter. Second quarter, we have Jalen Warren. It's our second punch, part of the 2-1-2 punch. And he gets a 16-yard touchdown run. And Boswell, of course, gets the extra point. You're leading 14-7. And then Boswell comes out at 8:08, and he gets a 42-yard field goal. 17-7. 14, 4-14. Jalen Reed scores a touchdown from Love again. But this is where the game came down. Block. The Packers were going for the extra point, of course. That's the normal. But the Steelers came through. That made the difference in this game quite a bit. That is your difference. This is the turning point of the game. And this is where the Steelers seem to be very strong at making 1 to 2 plays defensively that turn the game, that gives your offense enough to hold on, which is a great thing to see. Third quarter, we go in and we get at 9:08, Anders Carlson gets a 31-yard field goal. At 3:04, Carlson gets 28, and that made it 17-16. At 3:04, Carlson gets a 28-yard field goal. That made it 19-17 for the Packers. But at 1:05, Chris Bogswell, with his big foot, kicks a 49-yard field goal. That puts us up by a point, 20-19. Then it comes down to getting just a few extra points. And fourth quarter, and 5:14, Boswell gets another the big foot. He's just so reliable. This guy's money in the bank. And that's where you get your final score of 23-19. Steelers had to hold them off, though. We could have done a little better. If we wouldn't have taken that darn penalty, it was Such a shame that Pickens' catch didn't get to count because of the hit by Austin, the bit of interference prior to Packers getting the ball and making their last surge down the field, but because it was such a nice play. But it is what it is. The refs called it, and it is what it is. And once again, it came down to us at the end of the game, holding strong, holding the fort, and just hanging on enough. And they got within the 20-yard zone there. So they were well in scoring range. They made Love did quite a good job, to tell you the truth. But with the pressure of the Steelers line coming at them, you know, Watts and Highsmith, those guys really kept the heat enough that he didn't have, humongous time. And, there was a nice run by Kenny Pickett, too, in that fourth quarter. Nice to see him, and he made the decision quick. That's what I like seeing for a guy with broken, something. I think the ribs are busted, but either way, for being wounded and injured, good job on Pickett. And the team's got to hold their head up. I love this running game. This 1-2 punch is a good thing to see. If I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, again, I waste my first round draft pick coming up this year. Again, I'm working on that offensive line. And I'll say it again. And it was so funny this week because that's your game anyway. We held the fort, and we had the big interception at the end. And of course, Packers player didn't like it and took a late hit on him and driving him into a couple of coaches. And looked like there might have been, or there was chance of injury. Anyway, the Steelers players there gave him a nice greeting for the cheap shot, which was well deserved. I mean, he should have got whatever was coming to him. Cheap shot. I don't like when players are bad losers that way. But however, we're going to talk here a little bit more. I'm just going to extend it not very long, but it's funny. I've been saying for the last few years now, Dante Johnson is not a number one receiver. I don't care what people think. He's got cement for hands, drops the ball continually. When there's anybody near him, you can tell he doesn't want to get hit. And I'm not a fan of those type of players. To make the big plays, you got to be willing to sacrifice your body. So I've said it. I've had my opinion in on him. I think once we lost Brown and Schuster, there was a little bit of trouble on the walls for our receiver crew. We've done well with tight ends, thankfully, and our running backs. But as far as the receiving crew, we've never totally juiced up to get back to where we were. And that needs to change, because if you're leading your games, and this makes it very problematic to score points as an offense when a guy's dropping the ball or just falls out of nowhere continually because he's scared. And I don't care. You don't have to like it. I'm a diehard Steelers fan. It's my opinion. And bottom dollar, uh, you know, I'm not knocking him totally, but he is what he is. And he's not even a number two receiver in this league. He is a number three. And for the Steelers, if they're going to want that offense to start really exploding, which it could, that's going to have to be what they use the rest of their picks after, number one that goes on the line. You're going to have to try to find yourself a wide receiver, whether it's draft a couple of them, or I say you still may have to go out in free agency and grab one big name wide receiver that's consistent and make the splash, even if you have to make a trade. I think it's necessary to take that offense to the next level. You need an upgrade. Dante Johnson is not it. I got no problem with Dante being there as a number three receiver. But for number one, sorry, Pickens to me is a number two. Although I hope this attitude thing I heard in last week is not like our past troubles with Brown and Schuster and Claypool. So we seem to have troubles in that department. I think that also does come down to coaching, being able to get these guys into check And it comes into drafting too. I mean, you got to know what you're drafting as a player. I think psychological testing is crucial in the draft system. I think there has to be immense, intense psychological testing to see what type of breed of player you are coming across. You're going to dig out these personality flaws if you do this. It's just a no ands and buts or whats. But if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you stick with going on the plan of the offensive line being worked on, and go find yourself a true number one wide receiver, because it's not. I don't know how we're pulling off these wins right now. It's amazing what we're doing. I'll give them credit. I'm not totally uh, satisfied with what I see as a team, because Matt Canada doesn't do it to me. He's got to go at the end of this season because he cannot excel what offense we do have. So that's a bye bye. Au revoir. Yeah, your name might resemble my country's name, but I just had to throw a little joke. Pretty dry. Yeah. Anywho, so he's got to go. And let's go out there, Con, and get ourselves in the off season a number one wide receiver. You pick up big names here and there. You need one, and you need one badly, because I think you can't expect Pickett and then Pickens, and then we got to find out what Pickens is about, because there's a couple of little red flags there. Let's hope it's not serious. But he's the bad best to number two. He's definitely better than Dante Johnson in what level he is. Uh, Dante is a true number three, hands of stone. Sorry to say. So go Steelers, go! Impressive win again. I don't know how we're doing it. 6-3 record in Week 10. Quite impressive. And the Bengals went down today, so that's good for us. We're at least ahead of them. The Browns went down to the Ravens. And I look at that Browns team, and they're so stacked, and I don't understand. I would have thought they could have taken. I knew it would be a good game, but I would have thought they could have taken the Ravens. So it just goes to show you, sometimes what you see on paper doesn't always mean anything, right? So we're right in there with the Browns, and the Ravens are the leaders of our division, but the Bengals just slipped. And this was a question mark I've always kind of had. There were just offensive components that the Bengals didn't quite have, and that's fine by me because I'm a diehard Steelers for it. So go Steelers Nation, go! This is where is it at? Drop it. We did what we do normal. The steel curtain closed in on the love, and we got the extra points for the win. So good job. Please hit the like, subscribe down below in your right hand corner. I muchly appreciate it. Tell your friends and family and join the community. Let's make this an exciting, interesting uh, community. And just be respectful is all I ask, because it's unacceptable. I don't allow anybody to be insulted in my followers, and I don't allow disrespect to myself either. So be mature and respectful. And I really do enjoy hearing others' comments as long as they're respectable. We're all fans, right? So thank you for joining me, and we shall catch you next week. Who do we play next week? I don't even know who we play next week. Got a feeling it's a divisional game. Let's find out. Okay, let's find out. Week 11. Let's find out. Steelers and the Browns. I was correct. We go into Cleveland. Ooh, for an afternoon game. That's going to be a good one. Divisional rivalry. That's a huge game. Steelers got to come out with that, but boy, I don't know. Anyway, thank you for joining me. We will catch you on the review of the Steelers and the Browns. God bless.